Hi everyone, my name is Phil Conn. I'm from the Business Development and Transactions team at Arena. I want to thank you all for joining this webinar that we are hosting on our new short-term forecasting funding announcement. We've got a few of us who will be presenting today. Myself, Lucy Cooper, Zoe von Battenberg and Mottel Gestetner. So we'll each present some of the content today. So very briefly, I'll provide some background on Arena, and Lucy will provide an overview of our intent and there's a bit of strategic background with in relation to this funding announcement. And then Zoe and Mottel will take us through the details of the application and assessment process. And then at the end of the formalities, we'll then go into the Q&A component. Through the webinar software, when you move your mouse over the window that you're probably looking at right now, a small Q&A icon should pop up. If you hit that Q&A icon, you can type in questions at any time and submit them, and we've got a feed of those questions coming through. We'll hold off answering those until the end of the session. And we've got a very large number of participants. I think we've got well over 40, I think we have about 70 people registered. We've got 45 participants already. So it may be that we don't get to every single question that gets asked. We will be providing written responses to all of your questions and posting them online this week. So if we don't answer your question specifically, please don't take offense. We will get to it and you'll be provided with a written response to those questions. Both those questions we answer verbally today, but also those we don't manage to get to. So please submit those using the Q&A icon on the little webinar toolbar that should be there on your screen when you move your mouse around. For those who have joined purely by phone rather than online, you can, if you have a question, you can email them to the forecasting@arena.gov.au email address, which is an email address that's you've been provided previously. That's forecasting@arena.gov.au. So if you've joined by phone and you've got a question, flick it through on that email address. We may not get to that on this session, but again, as I said before, we will provide written responses later this week. All right, we'll get started. So first part is just a really brief overview of the Australian Renewable Energy Agency. As many of you would know, we're established in 2012. We've got an independent board, and we take a very kind of commercial approach or market-oriented approach to the investments that we make. Our whole purpose, our reason for being, is to shift Australia towards a sustainable and affordable and reliable energy future. We have a significant portfolio. We've invested over $1 billion and have approximately about $500 million of funding that's uncommitted at the moment. We have well over 150 projects that are active at the moment and have a growing pipeline of activity. So a key part of what we do, I guess there's broadly speaking two things that Arena does, and that is provide funding to support projects. And then the second thing that we do is knowledge sharing, which is of those projects that we've supported, we try and extract the information and new knowledge that's created so that those individual projects can act as catalysts for the broader market. We've got 4 investment priorities at the moment. I won't go into detail on all 4. Suffice to say that this short-term forecasting initiative relates to our first investment priority around delivering secure and reliable electricity. Lucy will provide some more detail on the sort of strategic context for Arena a little later in the presentation. And if you're interested in learning more about those investment priorities, our investment plan is available on our website. So, and that's what it looks like. So this document provides an overview of all 4 of those investment priorities, and in particular, the secure and reliable electricity. So that's priority number 1. It has a number of components to it. So looking at both large-scale renewable energy generation, which is where this short-term forecasting initiative largely fits, but also looking at the demand side or distributed energy side of things as well with DER integration. So we're interested in a whole range of new initiatives in there. DER integration, as I mentioned, improved market data and information, and that's where we sort of see this forecasting program fitting. Likewise, we're looking to see what new sources of can provide system security services like FCAS, a really broad range of activities, demand response and other activities in the mix as well. So have a look at our investment plan, which is available through our website if you'd like more detail on that investment priority and others. I'll pass across now to Lucy, who's not sitting next to me, but is in our Sydney office. Lucy, I'll pass to you to take it from here.
Great, thanks, Phil. So I'll be diving into some of the context on this specific initiative and also the kind of projects that we're looking for. So if you can't see me, or please put a little mention in the Q&A just to confirm that we've got the video set up. So this initiative, it's actually a result of a collaboration between ARENA and AEMO. And we've got an AEMO representative in the room with us today to answer any questions that you might have. We did have a number of questions come through in the registration process. So it's been set up within the Memorandum of Understanding that we have between two organisations, and then jointly progressed at a few shared events. For example, an A-Lab last year, and also a large workshop that we had in the AEMO offices in February. So if anybody's interested in the materials from that workshop, you can access them on both the AEMO website and the ARENA website related to the forecasting initiative. And what we're aiming to do is really there's two parts to the vision here in the funding announcement. One is to allow wind and solar generators to submit their own generation forecasts for use in market dispatch. And at the moment, as we'll hear, that's not the way that dispatch occurs. And then secondly is to explore the potential for forecasting technologies to provide accurate site-specific forecasts. So what are the factors that affect forecast accuracy, for example? It might be geographical, it might be over different timeframes. And then there's really two key elements to the work. The first is an AEMO-led work initiative that's underway at the moment, and that's to build and deploy an IT interface that allows these forecasts to be submitted into AEMO's system. And then the second, which is part of our discussion today, is building that industry capability to provide that forecast. So one core element is a set of proof of concept projects that are actually implementing the self-forecast into AEMO's system. And so it'll be a core element to be able to provide the data requirements in order to validate that the new system has been built to a way that industry can interact with it appropriately. And then finally, it's also to encourage a collective effort for the industry and gain momentum by looking at a mix of forecasting technologies, and also look at the different factors that impact forecasting accuracy. So why are we doing this initiative? Well, we've heard from the industry that there's a lot of appetite for this new structure. There's currently a misalignment of NEM accountabilities, where if the AWEFs or ACEFs forecasts from AEMO are inaccurate, it may be the generators that bear financial costs due to that inaccuracy. And there are also links to system security challenges. So by having greater visibility of what individual generators may produce, there's smaller variations on FCAS in the system. There's other benefits, for example, more renewable energy in the system by being able to integrate larger shares of renewable energies, and potentially greater contracting down the track if sites have better visibility of the forecast they can provide and be told to dispatch. So what do we want to achieve from this funding announcement? There's lots of nice to haves on the side that would make your projects more interesting to us. But fundamentally, we need plans to demonstrate the ability for market semi-scheduled generators, that being wind or solar, to submit 5-minute ahead self-forecasts via AEMO's web application that they are building, which will be an API. We're also interested in demonstrating the ability for self-forecasting to be more accurate than the equivalent produced today. And so projects that explore accuracy and factors that affect accuracy would be interesting. We'd like to understand the potential commercial benefits for self-forecasting from these generators. So, for example, what is the trade-off between investment in forecasting technologies and the payback from increased revenue or reduced costs? To examine the factors that affect the accuracy, to improve commercial readiness by funding a suite of projects, and also to contribute to industry knowledge sharing. So in your projects, if you can indicate the kind of data or information that would be made available, we'd be interested to see that in your application. What are we looking for? We'd like projects that have at least one market semi-scheduled generator, so that will be operating in the NEM at the time of the study. And as we mentioned, that can provide 5-minute ahead forecasts and that can comply with the data standards determined by AEMO. Eloise will be talking to those later, but there is a preliminary document available online that will be having more further information provided shortly. Consortiums are welcome, so you don't have to be a market semi-scheduled generator to apply, but you do need to be partnered with one in your group. And we are also interested in different innovative approaches that advance approaches to forecasting. So if you have a data science or machine learning competition, do reach out to us. It may be eligible within this announcement, but if not, we would still be interested in exploring opportunities to fund you.